Who do we play as in Help Wanted 2? It's the question most people have while playing the game for the first time. It's the question that every theorist has already talked about, but now I'm going to share why I believe our protagonist is Cassie's dad, who he might be, and why we might have already been dead since the beginning of the game. So take a seat while we dive into the mystery of who our protagonist for Help Wanted 2 is. Right off the bat, we know that logically, there are only two possible candidates for our player character, that being Cassie's dad and Cassie herself. Whoa, wait, hold up, what about Vanessa? Well, considering the cut voice lines from the game, we can gather that this is Vanessa or Vanny, if you will, communicating with us. The voice lines instruct us to collect his memories, him being glitch traps, to destroy their code once and for all. This is why I believe this is Vanessa talking to us, because a lot of the voice lines, while cut, follow exactly what we do in the game. You need to listen to me carefully. Don't help it escape. It's using you to finish where she left off. Only a small piece of his code remains. It is bound to the past. Find its memories and return. Look for my messages, they will guide you. Remove your mask. See the world as it really is. The memories are freed. Bring him to me. We literally collect Glitchtrap's memories of William Afton, handing them to Vanessa, where she crushes him, destroying the Mimic's branch of Glitchtrap. So, with Vanny being in the game herself and the voice lines seeming to indicate she would communicate with us throughout the game, it's pretty clear we can't be playing as Vanessa, leaving us with Cassie and her father. We could be playing as Cassie, but I don't think so. Yeah, sure, we have the same mask from Ruin, a Phas wrench to open the door to Princess Quest 4, and a reason to be trapped in the Vanny network and in the FNAF 6 location. The Mimic trapped us after the elevator ending to convert us into his next apprentice. But I don't think this is the case. Given the state of the animatronics and environments in the non-augmented levels, it's clear the game takes place before Ruin. Chica, Sun, Moon, and Roxy are all in their pre-Ruin and post-security breach states. We give Roxy a mask, the same one from Ruin, and in the mask bar ending, or help glitch trap, we hand Cassie the Vanny mask. This to me makes it clear Help Wanted 2 is after Security Breach but before Ruin. We know that a part of the game must take place before Ruin, as we are literally setting up the beginning of Ruin. By process of elimination, we must play as Cassie's dad. Now that we've uncovered who we play as, who exactly is Cassie's dad? In order to answer this, we first have to analyze what Mr. Kippo, including Baby and Moon, ask us.
What makes you so special?
What makes you so special?
What makes you so special?
What makes us so special? It's a rather interesting question. What would make us special? Well, let's look at what we have in the game. We discovered the Vanny mask, which based on what Help he told us in Ruin, is a mask that Class 5 technicians of the Pitterplex used, and what this poster further indicates to us. We're also given a Phas wrench halfway through the game, which Mr. Kippo has to say,
The key is familiar to you.
the Phas wrench is familiar to us, which heavily suggests we are a Phasmo technician. Now, what does Cassie say when she picks up the wrench in Ruin?
A Phas wrench? It's just like my dad's.
This further confirms that we play as Cassie's dad, a technician. However, this isn't enough to explain why we're special. Why are we here? For that, we must look to the endings. Ending 1 is where we help Glitchtrap to set up the events which leads to Cassie freeing the Mimic, and ending 2 is where we play Princess Quest 4, destroying Glitchtrap once and for all. That's it, that's why we're down here. We're here with the intent of destroying Glitchtrap, only to fall victim to him. But still, what makes us so special? I believe we are the arcade conspiracist from Security Breach. Remember this guy? The person who became obsessed with completing the arcade games? Glitched them all at the same time, then the princess will recognize me. Yeah, I think we're the same guy. The message is BBW, maintenance log, PQ1 and PQ2 maintenance logs, as well as out of order, red flag, and arcade conspiracy paints a clear picture of a story of a technician who discovered something strange going on with the arcade games, and of someone who became dedicated to completing the games. In the PQ logs, it states that the game has been ported over from a mobile game to an arcade, to which they ask, why port to an arcade? In the second one, the tech finds the second game, but it refuses to boot up because he hadn't found PQ1. In Out of Order, they find PQ3 tucked away in Blast despite the Pizzaplex not having any record of it. Again, it doesn't boot up as he hasn't completed the first two. In Red Flag, he completes the first two, but the last won't turn on. Then, in Arcade Conspiracy, this employee is fired as he discovered something that Vanny and Glitchtrap as well as Fazbear wouldn't have wanted him to catch onto. Lastly, BBW states that customers have been complaining that the arcade has been acting up and starts to glitch over time. They head to the theater to fix it, but the arcade had been moved without request. They'll investigate after the company meeting. I believe the arcade conspiracists moved the arcade as they returned to complete the other arcades. While I don't think the guy who stated that Balloon World had been moved and heading to the all-staff meeting means that all the staff had been killed off and replaced with the staff bots, the same way as stated in the all-staff meeting. But what I'm saying is that at some point, the arcade conspiracists may have beaten Balloon World and freed Gregory, leading to the events of Security Breach. But why would they be so dedicated to doing so? Well, I believe this is because we played Jeremy from Help Wanted 1, Glitchtrap's first victim. But how didn't he die? His face was cut off with a guillotine paper slicer, right? No, I don't believe this was the case. Upon re-evaluation of the tapes revolving around the day of Jeremy's death, I no longer think this was true. Tapes 4, 6, 8, and 9 from Help Wanted paint a clear picture of what's happened and how Jeremy never actually died but was rather fired. I'll play the tapes to help paint this picture.
Have you ever heard of a guillotine paper slicer? I didn't even know we had one in the supply room. Jeremy used to do design work. I guess that's how he knew it was there. You can always tell when a company is getting ready to fire someone. They start giving out written warnings for silly things, making sure to build a paper trail and make a case for a firing. Things that normally no one would care about suddenly become grave offenses, all worthy of being written and documented. I guess it works two ways, because it also encourages a person to quit rather than be scrutinized so heavily. I think Jeremy was too far gone to consider that option though. The thing about it is that I don't think they were going to fire him because of anything he was doing wrong. They just knew he'd seen something. They needed to discredit him. I came in early that morning. No one else was there. At least that's what I thought. The supply room was lit. I didn't even notice Jeremy standing in the testing room as I walked past. The supply room was so bright, glowing from all the way down the hall. There was something that looked like a Halloween mask laying on the floor. I didn't understand. Ink must have spilled. It was only then that I heard a shuffle from the testing room and realized Jeremy must be there. I went back and peered in the window. I couldn't see his face. He had the visor covering his head. He had ink spilled on himself as well. The front of his shirt looked black in the dark room. He turned his head in my direction, but I don't think he knew I was there.
In Tape 8, Tape Girl points out how the company was planning to fire someone. They find an issue with any minor things, and at that point, it would just be easy to quit. But Jeremy was too far gone to consider that option. They were going to fire him because they knew he saw something. Tape 4 sets up the paper slicer. Tape 6 and 9 seem to be a consecutive story. Tape Girl walks into the building expecting to be alone, when in fact she isn't. She isn't aware of the fact until she hears a shuffle from the testing room. In Tape 6, she notes how the supply room's light was so bright, even from all the way down the hall. To me, this sounds like she was recollecting how bright the light was down the hall. In Tape 9, she notices something that looked like a Halloween mask. Again, to me, it sounds like she wasn't close enough to the room to notice what the mask was. And then, discovering Jeremy in the testing room, standing with ink blood on his clothing and the visor on his head. If he really did successfully cut off his own face, then would he not be, dead and not standing? Especially if he cut off his whole face. I think Jeremy survived the incident and worked at the Pizzaplex. If this is the case, then it puts a lot of pieces into place. Jeremy, the first victim of Glitchtrap, escaped with a scar from the incident and began working at the Mega Pizzaplex for some time to eventually catch on to something suspicious, something familiar. Princess Quest, a game that was released on mobile, similar to Help Wanted's mobile edition where Princess Quest was first introduced. He questions why it would have been ported over to an arcade to discover the other Princess Quest arcades and becomes interested in the mystery of what they are. He completes the first two, potentially discovering something very familiar has happened to someone else, and they are under his control. This explains why he is so desperate to complete the arcade games. Unfortunately for him, he was unworthy to save the princess. He was fired before he could complete the quest. He thinks there's something else to do in order to save the princess, which is to glitch all of the arcades. This is why he completes BB World and frees Gregory, who in turn frees Vanessa. Then sometime after the Pizzaplex collapses, he is summoned to the Pizzaplex to destroy Glitchtrap, who unbeknownst to him, he was summoned to help Glitchtrap. He falls victim to him, and unlike before, Glitchtrap succeeds in killing Jeremy, trapping him in PQ4, as Candy Cadet says in his story.
Now let me tell you a story about a young woman who, when she was little, was led into a dark forest by a witch and almost eaten. She had fallen for the friendly voice without discernment and was led astray. She had escaped before being thrown into the oven, but would have a scar for the rest of her life. When she had grown, she sought revenge on the witch and entered the forest again willingly, this time with the confidence of age and experience. She was greeted at the mouth of the forest by a young boy who offered to help guide her through the darkness. She welcomed the help and followed the young boy over the river, through the jagged trees, and toward a small house. Come, the boy said, rest here before killing the witch. The young woman was tired and would kill the witch in the morning. She followed the boy into the house. The oven door closed. The witch would finally have her meal.
Jeremy's soul is transported into the Vanny network, where Cassie finds his equipment, the Vanny mask and the Faz wrench, which, mind you, is the same wrench in both games as they have the same code on the back, and frees the mimic. This is why the note from Ruin from Cassie's dad appears here. He had something to do, something so important that he left his only daughter to complete it. Great, but why didn't Mimic just use him to free himself? I don't know, they're stupid or something, because he knew that he couldn't manipulate him into freeing him. Glitchtrap knew he had experience and resisted his control in the past. He would catch on, and if he was here to destroy Glitchtrap once and for all, the only option would be to kill him. As such, he was led astray. Is it a perfect recap of events? No. Some things could be altered to make for a more believable set of events, but hey, it's what I've got for you for now. Also, I want to point this out that I don't think Glitchtrap intended to kill Jeremy in Help Wanted. I think he did plan to take over him, but Jeremy succeeded in preventing that from happening. The witch finally having a meal, I think, is him successfully trapping part of Jeremy. But there's something else, something more. What else does Mr. Kippo say?
Do you ever look at your hands? I mean, really look at your hands. Do you remember?
I believe we play as Jeremy throughout Help Wanted 2 as a spirit. It's Mr. Kippo's comments on our hands that makes me think so. She's specifically drawing attention to our hands. So what's up with them? They're blue, digitalized, in both the augmented world and the real world. We are still in the network in both worlds, yeah? So we're playing a VR game. It's a game design choice. We have the same hands in the first Help Wanted. It's a fair point. However, in the Help Glitchtrap ending, we are transported from the augmented world to the real world. And who do we see coming out of the charging station? Glitchtrap. Now remind me again, where have we seen Glitchtrap throughout the franchise? We've only seen him digitally in the minigames of Help Wanted 2, computer monitors, the Freddy Fazbear virtual experience, in Burn Trap, and the rest of the animatronics in the Pizzaplex. We've never seen him physically, so the fact that we're seeing him in the real world in our presence confirms that we are in the network throughout the game. Then, that begs the question, why are we completing tasks with the equipment we had before we died? The simple answer is that we aren't aware we're dead. We're continuing our lives as if we aren't dead. We see similar occurrences with spirits in the books, specifically the stories Coming Home and Alone Together. In Coming Home, the story centers around Susie, one of the MCI victims who possessed Chica and her family. Susie returns to her home in her spirit form without realizing she in fact is dead until Chica returns to the house every night to take her away to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. In Alone Together, Travis lives his life like normal with his dad and school as his spirit, not knowing that he was dead the whole time. He is ignored by all, including his dad, except for the one person who could see him, and she was more in tune with the spirit world. It's not until the end of the story that Travis finds his body, ultimately realizing and accepting that he was dead the whole time. The same could be applied to Help Wanted 2. Jeremy is not aware he is dead, possibly up until Princess Quest 4, as implied by Mr. Hippo.
Do you remember?
He has forgotten his fate, just as Susie and Travis did in their respective stories. Jeremy is trapped in the network, more specifically in PQ4, as signified by the lock around the room we find him in, playing the arcade, and one of the cut voice lines, "It kept you here for a reason." Editing Seth here. An idea I scrapped for the theory but decided to add in anyway is Glitchtrap's entrapment of Jeremy in Help Wanted 1 may not have fully completed, but the process that was completed allowed for Glitchtrap to continue to exist even after Princess Quest 3 was beaten. Jeremy arriving into the ruined pizzaplex to eliminate Glitchtrap once and for all ultimately allowed Glitchtrap to complete his entrapment and afterwards kill him, as Glitchtrap would still have parts of him locked away in PQ4, manipulating his spirit into putting himself back together. An alternative explanation to "it kept you here for a reason" and the witch finally having her meal. It's just a thought. Do with that what you will. Jeremy is Glitchtrap's key to putting him back together. Jeremy slowly remembers what happened to him and why he came here: to destroy Glitchtrap, to complete the princess quest, to free the princess, Cassidy. No, not Vanessa, even though it's possible that may have also been his goal when the pizzaplex was opened, or he thought that they were under Glitchtrap's control. Regardless, the mission was always to save the princess. As he works through all the minigames, finding the memories to complete his mission, he becomes worthy of saving the princess.
You are ready.
This is why Cassidy gives the Sword of Light to Jeremy to complete the quest for her. In doing so, both he and her will finally be able to move on. Jeremy, after completing what he set out to do from Help Wanted and Security Breach, and Cassidy after everyone else has left, ? As indicated by the 5 balloons in the Brazil ending in Ruin, finally putting an end to William's legacy. Is this a perfect narrative? No, but it's the best I can give you in this video. I was going to share an alternative motivation for Jeremy's dedication to destroying Glitchtrap involving the still location equipment in Ruin, but I don't want this video to be too long. I'll share it in another video if you guys would like. But anyway, that about wraps up the video and my thoughts on who we play as in Help Wanted 2, who Jeremy is, and why I believe we're dead throughout the game. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing for more FNAF content in the future. It really is appreciated. I also have a Twitter you can follow me on if you would like. If you disagree with anything in the video, feel free to share down in the comments. And as always, enjoy your day/evening.